Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Josh Long, and this is AME Podcasts, a way to kind of continue adult music education and participation in ensembles. We are sponsored by Art and Music Emporium, which is serving artistic excellence. We offer things such as instrument repair, music lessons, and music initiatives such as Tuba Christmases, and we actually do a annual community band by the sea in Wildwood, New Jersey, in the summer, which has been pretty successful. If you want to stay connected to us, make sure to like us on YouTube. You can also, or excuse me, subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. We are there with Art and Music Emporium and also Joshua E. Long. We also have a Patreon account if you're interested in contributing anything. All the money goes towards our endeavors of, again, continuing music education for adults. I'm so excited today for our guests. We have Chris Green here. I know him from drum corps, also from the virtual assistant director, which I'm sure he's going to talk a little bit about right now online. He makes a pretty big online experience for everyone, and as well as through composition. So I'm really excited to kind of have a conversation with him because I know he's very well embedded in many of the community today. So Chris, why don't you take it away?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to be here tonight. As you mentioned, I do a whole bunch of different things, and I have done my whole life. I've actually been quite fortunate that I can say that I've been in the performing arts my basic entire life. I picked it up in middle school as the beginning band, like most people do, carried through high school, and realized that I wanted to pursue music. So I went to a little school called Gardner Webb University and got my degree in music composition. And my backup is I was a minor in theater arts, so I had planned ahead for all the things. And I don't know if you remember a movie called Mr. Holland's Opus, but it
Oh,
came out
yes.
when I was in my freshman sophomore year when I had just declared my music composition major and said, I'm never going to teach, blah, blah, blah. So people called me Mr. Holland a lot during college. I got out of college and did a lot of professional touring, both in the theater side and in the musical side, vocally and trumpet as my main instrument. And I enjoyed that. It was great. I was going gig to gig like a lot of people in the performing world does. And I hit a point realizing, I kind of want to set down roots somewhere. I want an apartment and a car and not just have to, gig all night and audition all
Mhm.
day and keep that going. That's definitely a young person's game, I think. But I just got tired of that, but I didn't want to lose music. So
Mhm.
I always found a way, even when I was working at IT jobs or driving a forklift or whatever we do to keep the bills paid.
Mhm.
And I was doing sales for a company that were selling smart boards. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I get to go in the classroom and enjoying it. And people just kept saying, why aren't you in the classroom? So begrudgingly, after all the time of saying I would never teach, I entered the classroom. I was a middle school choir director, moved over to band, moved over to high school, took a program of about 12 kids that I walked into, and I left them with about 250. Um, Two winter guards, jazz bands, three concert bands, mariachi, indoor percussion, WGI winds, just did it all and loved it. Towards the end of that career, I knew that I was going to burn myself out because a lot of us understand that when you're in the performing arts, you just constantly do more. It's never enough. And I loved it. I enjoyed sharing my passion with the arts with kids and watching them grow and finding that same passion I've always had. And the last company that I did a marching band uniform with was Fruhoff. And I
Mhm.
had a great experience. And my representative says, if you ever leave the classroom, you should consider this. I'm like, eventually I will. I don't know yet. Well, come to pass, I ended up moving to Florida and taking over as a Florida rep for Fruhoff uniforms for the last 7 years. And then this past fall, I took over as the national sales manager. So I'm based in both Wichita, Kansas, and St. Petersburg, Florida. You mentioned virtual assistant director. That kind of
Mhm.
came out as a necessity because with Fruhoff, I have the uniform side and I'm talking to band directors all day, which I loved. I'm talking to my
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
I get to be in the classroom without being in the classroom. Um, Accessories and concert attire and all this other stuff that kind of goes along with it. I worked for a few different accessory companies and finally realized that I needed to kind of do my own thing too. So I'm representing Guard Closet and Team IP, two really incredible brands with great people. And I billed myself as a virtual assistant because in Florida, very few programs have an assistant. If they have someone else that's helping them out, it's probably a chemistry teacher that did drumline in high school, or
Mm-hmm.
something of that nature. Maybe a paraprofessional. Maybe they have a part-time person to come help. But there's a lot of things that you just can't do with one person.
Right.
So I built myself as the virtual assistant, and then in the last couple of years, it's grown so much that I now have 9 other virtual assistants with me, and we do the things. You talk about continuing music forever. I've kind of always done that. I've been the guy that's had too many jobs. This is actually the least amount of jobs I think I've ever had. But I've done everything from run a opera company in St. Pete. I've done community band for years. We actually, before we came on live, we were talking about the Association of Concert Bands.
Mm-hmm.
The band that I conducted in Orlando for 6 years, we hosted this past year's conference, which was incredible because all these community band folks from all over the country and a couple international came together. So I wrote a bunch of brand new music from living composers of diverse backgrounds. Had a mass band that played. My band got to perform, and then because all 3 of the Pride bands
Mm-hmm.
of Florida all got into the conference, we took advantage and performed as a mass unit 3 pieces of composers from the LGBTQ plus community. So that got to do that, and we also hosted the LGBTQ plus. I always get tongue tied with that. I typically just say alphabet soup because we're all in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever letter associates with you, that's great. But we're all in the same bowl of soup together. Pride Bands Alliance had a conference a couple years ago, and we were the host of that as well. So not only do I do music and theater all the time, I'm constantly meeting new people and just continuing on my love of music. It's been, I'm not going to say how many years now, but I'm constantly doing something, and I absolutely love it. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love the people I work for. And anytime that I can kind of share my passion with people and hopefully inspire them to continue on in some way, whatever that fits in for their world and their life, then I'm going to sign me up. I'll be there. I'll do it.
Very awesome. Well, I actually have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind me asking.
Sure.
So one thing that, first of all, I want to think as you as a person, you made a comment that, you left the schools, or well, you left going through your experiences through the institutions. I'm always looking at this kind of institutional, and you made this comment that, first of all, you were gigging all over the place. You had all these different jobs. And of course, you were doing many other different jobs. And I'm sure anything under the sun to pay the bills, as we say. Like, even I will say I mowed lawns, so you got to do what you got to do. That's right. So my question is you made a comment about you always wanted music in your life. And I just want to kind of start there because I'm just interested if you could describe what that is.
Well, for me, I think for a lot of people in performing arts, there's something that connects with us on just on a different level. Whether band class was your favorite class, or you found your voice on the theater stage, or learned matching pitch and singing songs together in the choir, whatever it is, there's something that connected that made you feel like you got to express yourself in a different kind of way. I was a very shy person. I did not do those kind of things naturally. I still don't outside of the music realm. Let me just say, I can stand up in front of an audience of 2,000 people and speak without a single problem. You put me with 3 or 4 people and nothing musically interested in it, I don't have that. So for me, it helped me find my voice.
Okay.
And I find that no matter what I was doing, as long as I had a connection. I mean, I know once I was running a warehouse. We were building cell phone towers, nothing related to the performing arts whatsoever. But then I was a backup performer for touring cast cutting through on trumpet. There's a person in town that he played all the time, and on occasion, like, "Hey, I can't do this gig. Can you do it?" Sure. You got to jump in. You jump right into a rehearsal, sometimes just straight into a performance, and had to be right on it. But because I had done so much drum corps and my college was such a great preparation for me and kept playing, that allowed me to do so. Now, staying at a professional level isn't necessarily something you have to do to keep music going. So the community band kind of filled that in for me.
Okay.
And I realized years ago that I still love trumpet. I still love playing it. I just don't have the time to devote like I used to. But community band conference, it's great to pick up, play whatever part I feel like playing, whatever my comfort level is with the repertoire, and it's great. But I have found that I much more enjoy being on the podium, now than I did as a performer. There's a different kind of expression that goes on. Even if you had me for just a few minutes, I actually did a guest conducting gig for a high school in Pennsylvania, William Penn Charter School.
Mm-hmm.
And I had conducted them once before. Their band came down and visited us in Orlando. And we just basically did a mass band rehearsal between the community band and the high school band as part of an outreach program they had going on.
Okay.
They enjoyed that so much when they programmed one of their same pieces for their holiday concert, that you have to come conduct it. So I came in and conducted Choose Joy by Randall Sandridge at their holiday concert, but I literally had a 30-minute rehearsal, and then 2 days later was the concert. Okay. So how do I express to these students in 30 minutes everything I could pull out of them in a musical situation? What I found is that is my voice. That is where I feel I'm most impactful. That it's, okay, you've learned the notes and rhythms. What can I pull out of you here that's going to last with you? And based on feedback I get from these clinician situations, that I am making an impact. Mm-hmm. So that helps me continue my voice, even though right now my day job is more about paperwork and personnel management and moving things through the process so they can have the equipment they need to do the musical kind of things. But I kept that little piece of me. So when I get to go clinician in a band or get to adjudicate or any of those special cool things, I basically get to say, hey, here's part of my personality into what's going on. And hopefully that makes some sort of positive impact in their program or in their students or something. Hopefully leave a little ginger sparkle left behind that they can carry with them, because so many people in my life have done that. Instructors, clinicians, honor bands, it doesn't matter. And you could have somebody for 5 minutes and that person makes a lifelong impact on you. So I try to keep that in the back of my mind and thinking, you never know when you could be that person for someone else. And most of the time you don't know. So I pour myself into those things, which in turn helps field my soul. So it's a win-win for me.
I like that, what you're talking about, where it gives you voice, and I think that's in the world today, and I'm not getting into anything other than just saying that, just giving you voice, it seems like it gives you power, as far as giving you the power of your dedication to music, just in general, that has helped you through everything else, and I know you jumped right to kind of talking about the podium, and I'm actually interested about that. It's something I was going to ask you. First of all, I am interested, the 30 minutes, because this is something I always battle with too. And I'm just going to share this just because this is where my mind goes. So we do this initiative down in Wildwood where it's a community band. I send music about a month prior, and I mean, we're doing a full show. I mean, a full hour and a half, typical, concert. So I send it to everybody, and we literally have 3 hours on one day and then a small touch-up concert prior to that. And I'm just interested what your opinions are, is kind of, short time, quick rehearsals, to get people focused in on the music and that voice. So I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more of that, just because I thought, it's very interesting that you went right there, because I agree with you. Sometimes I'm not saying that we can't have long rehearsals. That's what I'm saying, but it's just, you have to deal with time sometimes,
What is it? It's all about preparation, right? If you're going to an honor band situation, you probably auditioned to be a part of it. You may have had the music beforehand. You're going to go into that rehearsal of, this is an honor for me to be here and I want to take advantage of it. And so you're going to maximize that time. And you probably have a couple hours of rehearsal. You'll probably read through a few pieces. You may do some, you may not. And you're trusting this person that you've never met, that they're qualified enough to bring you to a performance level in the time allotted. What I do when I jump into like the situation in December is they've already performed the piece with me at some point. I mean, it was not a long rehearsal, but they were introduced to it. The kids loved the piece and said, hey, can we do this piece at our concert? That director's very supportive, and we're actually became close friends since then. He said, we're doing this piece. And then it was one of those odd chances. There's no way we could possibly get you here to perform, to conduct. Well, there is. But the way the schedule worked, there was only that so much amount of time. So basically my idea was, okay, I haven't heard the band. Yes, I've met some of these students, but there's a lot I haven't. When I walked up to the podium, there was a sense of the kids that knew me all set up straight. They knew the things I called them out for at the last rehearsal, and they had kind of set the tone with everyone Plus, the band director had set me up as, here's this person coming in, here's what we're trying to do, this is why this person's here. So the preparation was there. So for me to conduct, it's like, okay, let's give this a shot. Let's see where we are. Now, I don't have time to do the full piece and then go back through and this segment, this segment. I'm going to prioritize really quickly based on what I'm hearing. What are the things I can make the most impact on? Oh, there's some timing issues. What's causing that timing issue? We're on the performance stage, thank goodness, because you can hear, hey, you guys are on the opposite side of the ensemble from each other, and you have to line up. So this is where that pulse is going to come through. Hey, you guys have the same part here. We've got to make sure we're interpreting the same way on the melodic side. Phrasing, articulation, you pick all those things and realize the amount of time you have, you cannot fix everything. You're not going to. But if you can get them to trust you in the process, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 days, I'm going to take you there. Watch me. Get used to how I'm conducting, how I'm cueing. I mean, I'm a very emotional person. Sometimes I say I take flight, and that could be good for some. Other people prefer very minimalist, but it's that trust level. So you come in prepared, however your ensemble's prepared you for, and then I've got to make an impression quick enough to say, I'm qualified to do this. I can get you there. Now I have to communicate with you without being able to have a real conversation. I have to develop a bond just in that room, which is why when we talked about getting a voice earlier, it's not necessarily your physical voice. It's your presence. It's your communication skills on other levels. Can we work together very quickly and create something magical for the audience? Something that's going to stick with them. Because the thing that bothers me the most about all of music education is the idea that it's just regurgitation of notes on a page. If we get the rhythms right, and they're in time and they're in tune, and great, we've made music. Great. Did you make art? Doesn't have to be perfect. There's a train going by, so I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
For that, if that's the sound, but
no, it's good.
To me, it's if you don't make an emotional impact, then you didn't make music. So you can be technically perfect and everything's lined up and you're doing everything you were taught to do, and it's just flatlined. If I want to hear a perfect performance, I know there's places I can go that'll give me a perfect performance. You don't go to your average high school band, community theater, whatever the situation is, to hear a perfection. You're there to be moved, whether you have a connection to someone on the stage, a connection to the music being performed, to the composer, to whatever it is, you're coming in, you want to be moved. So instead of it just being focused on the perfection and the regurgitation, I love that word, of the perfection, it's we're getting as close as we possibly can the time allotted. Let's take the audience on a journey, whatever that is, however you want to interpret that. But that to me is the goal.
That's awesome. I mean, that's very well said. Because I think about that too. As far as and don't get me wrong. I love perfection in music, and there's great professional musicians out there. But sometimes I don't know if this is for you. like if I don't if I go to a concert and hear professional musicians and I don't get moved or go on that journey that you're talking about, I'm at that point where it was okay, great, that it was nice to hear it, but
I have computer back here with thousands of them. I could probably listen for days on my iTunes of perfect professional recordings. I love those. But when I go to a concert, I want to leave that concert, wow, that was great. What was great about it? Well, it made me cry, it made me smile, made me laugh, maybe whatever it was supposed to do. It made me feel something, and I left. I can go to, and we talk about Midwest and all these great musical conferences. I can go and sit and listen to impeccable performance. Wow, I can't believe what they achieved. I can go to my school right down the road and have that same experience and have nowhere near the same amount of perfection or excellence or skill level done, but it can be just as impactful. So, I mean, I hate it because there is a huge push for perfection, but let's face it, most people who are in music are not going to be professional musicians. And as an educator, you're not there to make them professional musicians. They're going to do that regardless of how you teach or what you do. So making them better people and finding themselves and all those other aspects. So why do we degrade so many things that aren't perfection? everything can't be the best thing you've ever heard. I mean, how many times you hear a movie review and it was okay, this other movie was better. It wasn't trying to be the same movie. I mean, like for me, I don't have my normal pops up with all the horror stuff that would be in my house in Florida, but I read all these reviews of horror movies.
Okay.
Right? It's a horrible movie. But you don't like horror movies. Why are you reviewing horror movies? And then if they do like horror movies, like, well, this is not as scary as this movie. Does every movie have to be the scariest movie you've ever seen? Does every movie have to be an Oscar winner? No, it doesn't. Every oh my goodness, I just aged myself. Every musical performance doesn't have to win a Grammy. And there's a huge amount of music out there that it will never be considered for that. So yeah, perfection is great. And I have to be honest, I did tell my kids it's more fun not to suck. I mean, the better the performance, the more fun you're going to have.
Sure.
But to me, that's the baseline. Let's get the notes and rhythms right, or as close as we possibly can with our skill level and whatever. But everything above that is what makes it fun.
Okay. Yeah, very nice. Good. And I'll just say this little side thing. I know you made a comment about CDs. I actually just finished last year the DVDs with Netflix. So I'm just going to say that I ended them when they ended their subscription. So
okay. There's nothing wrong with physical media.
Yeah, it was the nostalgia of the whole thing, I think. But talking about that, getting back to this concept of, where it's baseline of technical, and I agree with you. What do you do as far as in front as a teacher or a performer? Either or, you can go either direction. In a community band or in a high school situation or a middle school situation or public school situation. What do you do to get that? Let me ask you that. It's going to be a hard question.
Oh, it is, because every situation is different, right?
Yep.
I'm going to go back to that preparation. If I just walk in, and this is true for anybody, you walk in, don't know what you're going into, you're reactionary. Let me focus to it. Well, the situation where I was going to conduct and only had a small amount of time, some of that was reactionary because I wanted to see where they were at that point in time, knowing how much time I had left to do. But most of that was proactive. It was communications with the band director. It was what the band director communicated with the students. It was learning the notes and rhythms before we got there. And when I walked in, he says, just so you know, boom, boom, boom are still our issues. Boom, 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 we're doing really well. Maybe a little bit of information going in, so I was prepared for it. So if someone called me today and said, hey, can you come in tomorrow and do this? I'm going to have a list of questions right off the bat. Okay, what are you playing? Why did you pick that piece? Who are your key players? I mean, just whatever I can get so I can mentally prepare myself. Now, if I was just somewhere like, Chris, jump on stage right now, let's go, that's going to be a tough situation. But I'm going to be hopeful that if I put enough of my personality up front and I can get a sense of where they are. My big thing, especially community band, was always, if I make a bad band dad joke type thing and I got one giggle or a smile, that's all I needed, just one. And then you start seeing more people laugh and all, oh, this guy's not as intimidating as maybe I was when I walked on the podium. So you never know. You room full of 100 people, maybe they're all looking at you with a different perspective. So how do you get them all on the same page very quickly? You be yourself. You're as prepared as you possibly can, and then you react to the situation so that you can still get to your goal, because your brain is completely in a countdown mode of, you got 5 minutes left rehearsal, 4 minutes and 59 seconds, 58, 57, and you're thinking, oh no, I've got to get those rhythms, that syncopation's coming up, that hemiola, and if I ever make a mistake, whoops, I never make a mistake, but I just lied, or whatever I need to say that breaks that tension of, well, obviously don't watch me there because I haven't learned how to conduct 4/4. You keep going. People get off edge a little bit, like, oh, okay, so mistakes are going to happen, but let me try that again. This time, I'm going to add the fermata. Oh, and that way, if I say the same thing sarcastically with students, they react the same way. It's like, that was amazing, so great. You know, the one thing that was missing, there's a dynamic marking on that music. I totally missed it. Did you guys get it? You didn't either? Great. Let's try that again. Yeah, it does say piano, which does not mean what you think it means. It is soft. Okay, let's go. But little bits and pieces, and that's just my personality. And I'm a little bit of a sassy kind of person, but that works for me. But it doesn't work for somebody else.
Sure.
Someone else can go through and be very academic and get the same reaction because they're authentically who they are. So I live myself tongue tied, unapologetically myself. That's me on the podium, off the podium, whatever it is. But I'm bringing my best self to that podium right then, do the best I can to connect with as many people, whether it's just eye contact, whatever it is, so that they realize back again, I'm on the podium for a reason. They can trust me. They're in good hands. We're working together. Let's get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. I can just see in your expressions. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's amazing good because you have you just light up when you're talking about it and how you want to describe, just the dynamics, for example. I mean, it's just, exactly just a vocabulary word on the page, right? It's nothing more than that. And it's very like I like how you said it's very linear. It's looking at the music and how you want to make music. You want to make it an art form. And I agree with you 100% just because I feel, in today's world, it's everything's, just by the books and have to, keep everything, heel to toe, you go in, you do your job, you come back, you come home,
Oh, it is.
repeat, so.
Especially if there's any kind of competitive aspect to it, whether it's festival or drum corps score, whatever it is, you're being adjudicated. Well, guess what? We're always being adjudicated. Just sometimes some lucky people put a number down and that means something. I've walked out of, I remember vividly, because I've never been a trophy chaser, but I do like the ideas of trophy. I do like the idea of here's a physical embodiment of what we've done, what we've accomplished. Sometimes you win things just because you're the only ones there. Sometimes you win because you were just better than everybody else. I remember Winter Guard leaving the floor, and we had a horrible run. Like, it was the worst run we had in weeks, and we let everyone know it. Like, this was just, you weren't paying attention. Your head was not in the game. You do all those kind of things. Not really reading them the riot act, but let them know that we were not pleased with that performance, and they weren't either. Because you start off with asking, "How do you feel?" Well, what happened? Blah 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 blah. Great. So you let these things dictate how your performance is, and now you can never get that performance back. And doggone it, if we didn't win that competition that day with a big trophy, but they were out there with the big smiles, and they left and said, "We won a trophy on our worst show." I said, "Yes, and guess what? Next week you may jump 10 points up and be last place, or you may have an even worse show and win. You don't know." So the adjudicators of the time are just taking a picture of that moment in that space, but the personal judgment is what made more sense. If they left the floor, they didn't feel good about the performance, it doesn't matter what the trophy is. They left the feeling like that was the best run of our season and we were dead last. Hey, that means everyone else had a better run than us. But it's tough to get people to see things that way because we're so much into second place is the first loser. Well, no way. Who wants to live in that kind of world?
Right.
You can't be the best at everything. There's only one that's the best. That's why it's called the best. But we can be better than the last time we did it. We can do the best we've ever done. We can compare ourselves to our own journey, But when you go back to the regurgitation of just because you did it technically correct doesn't mean it's memorable. You're not going to remember, oh, we nailed every note perfectly in that show. But I remember crying on stage because that one chord just gave me chill bumps. I remember that. I remember with Carolina Gold, which is a drum corps, it was a DCA corps. It's inactive now. But we did a little circle up and just sang through our ballad. And I still have the recording of it. It still gives me chills. And that was like almost 20 years ago. There's just something about the show was just coming together. All walks of life. I think our youngest member was like 15 or 16. We had some under 60s marching. A lot of parents, grandparents, and band directors, and a lot of that was moving. But we all hit together. That was one of the first shows of the season. I mean, it wasn't technically perfect, but it just clicked. Everyone just kind of got it. Thank God someone had a recorder, and it wasn't just in my imagination because I listened to it back and I'm like, God, just remember that moment. There was no score attached. There was no audience, but there was something about that moment where we all clicked together that it just worked. On the same hand, going to a completely professional realm, my last time on stage as a professional opera, I had one line I come out and I just sing my line. It's real short, little bit of piece of Madame Butterfly, but you see the audience and you're staring right at you, waiting for every word, and just they're so engaged. But you're on that stage with all these immaculate singers, and things just kind of click. And it's the same situation. It doesn't matter if it was completely community and amateur, we're getting together to have a good time and enjoy an experience, or this is my professional job and I live off this paycheck as a professional musician.
Mm-hmm.
The same situation can happen with both, and you should always be able to have that. I never want to lose that, because if I do lose that, then I feel like I've lost myself.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I would definitely say the connection, and this is just something that, and I know you explained it very well in going in all the different experiences that you were in. But one thing I wanted to just ask you really quickly, just because this is one thing I've never experienced. I've been involved with drum corps, but more on
Mm-hmm.
the alumni that's been more of an alumni parade corps. So nothing that was ever on the field, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I'm going to share this with you, and I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. I've always noticed that there's this connection that goes way, 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 way beyond anything I've ever experienced before, as far as drum corps members. To a point of there was an indoor performance at a high school, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember, and I'm not making fun of anybody. I just want to say how that connection happened. There was older folks coming in, and they came in, they had their canes or walkers. You could tell, they had balancing issues.
Mm-hmm.
They stuck their uniforms on. They went out. They played. They stood up the straightest I've ever seen them straight, as straight as possible be. Got away from all those canes, walkers, and they just played beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that I think it's connection, but it's just the fact that it just seems like, and I don't want to say it the wrong way. It seems sometimes how people describe the military, that you're doing something beyond you. And I don't know if that's it or not, but I thought I'd ask you that just because I know, like, you described that in the time that you were all together in that circle singing through your ballad. And I'm just interested if you can explain, excuse me, that moment a little bit, just because I'm interested in that's where it's like very friction. I just love that, to hear about that
Right.
when you're making music.
And it's tough because what made that moment happen? Don't
Yep.
know. Was it the speech beforehand? Was it
Hmm.
the fact that we're driving now? Was it the first shot? Don't know, but I can go and name 10 or 15 moments in my life that way. The
Hmm.
same core, let's say, yeah, maybe 2, 3 months later at finals, when this wonderful just C major chord, high brass just hits it, holds it for four counts, and then the low brass come in, and we kind of kneel down, we just up to the press box and play it, and just kind of hit. Same piece,
Uh-huh.
different moment, but the connection then was just, we just nailed that chord. It was like, that's it, it's there. And then when the low brass came in, everyone felt it. And still, it's one of the best moments of that show. Now, the connection the first time was probably the fact that it was coming together, and we were starting to see there was something magical about what we were doing.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
second time was, we're actually doing this with our instruments on the field
Wow.
in competition. It's actually happening in front of people. Wow, this is going to be recorded forever. Don't know what it is, but that
Hmm.
community effort getting together. Same kind of thing with the community band. We have people that have master's degrees in performance sitting 2 or 3 seats down from someone who learned an instrument in their 40s or 50s for the first time because they wanted a community outlet. They wanted
Hmm.
something to do and they never got to join band.
Hmm.
Those moments can happen on any level.
Hmm.
So the dynamics of who you're around, the community, the personalities, all those things build in. Um, People are going to come and go, especially on the community side. It
Hmm.
can be very transient, but can you still develop that with new people coming in? Of course you can,
Sure.
but it's the culture. It's so many different aspects. I mean, I wish there was something I could pinpoint and say that did it, because then I would do that same thing every single time to make sure that happened. But it's a combination of a lot of things. And hopefully, when those things are starting to go that direction, my brain will kick in and say, okay, let's soak in this moment. What can we do to make sure this moment hits? For me, singing was always something very powerful in drum corps,
Hmm.
because most people are like, I'm not a singer, I play an instrument. Great. But if you can play in tune, you can sing in tune, and both of
Hmm.
them help each other. So we were using other aspects to get people more comfortable. So you take people out of their comfort zone which made them more comfortable in their comfort zone and perform at a higher level. So it's tough to pinpoint because I really don't know, but I'm just grateful that something inside me, whether it's from my training or my personality or my experience, whatever, says this is a moment, do this right now. And I'd love to say that it's always pre-planned out. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I know, oh, this is going to be a moment, I'm going to make this happen, and it's happened. Yay! There's other times you're thinking, I don't know what just happened, but did you guys feel that? The first time you get on stage and pop a release and you just hear this echo, like, oh, we're playing loud. No, 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 no. That was resonance. Here's the difference. Because the next time they play something, stop. Did you hear how the sound went nowhere? That's totally different. But you have to have that relationship back and forth to understand those moments. But like I said, hopefully you're paying attention and can say the right things and do the right things to make that impression happen. But even in those moments, there might be someone there like, I don't understand. Have you ever left a performance like, who had a great performance? Everyone went, that was amazing. And 3 people said, I sucked. That was the worst thing I've done all year. But the collective just had this amazing experience. But the cool part about that is that one person or small people that had that horrible experience didn't ruin it because the collective still happened. And sometimes like, oh, now they're going to feel better about themselves because what they thought was their worst was part of the group's best experience. So you can make mistakes and still be good. And in the real world, that's how it is. It's not, not a, you made a mistake, you've lost your job. I mean, you may, but hopefully not. It's like you made a mistake, you got to fix it. Oh, everything's going great, you're falling behind. How do we catch you up? And those kind of community things happen throughout the performing arts. And it's probably why I love it so much. I mean, I run 2 companies and I'm the sales manager for another one. And my entire thing is I don't witch hunt ever. I don't understand the who made the mistake and you need to be punished for your mistake. I am what went wrong. How can we fix it? How can we keep that from happening again? I'm not concerned that you missed that note. You didn't sign that form. You didn't, whatever. It's okay. So we're not there yet. What do we need to go there? Is it skills? Is it training? Is it rehearsal? Is it, and it applies to everything. So I apply those aspects to my life, which is probably why when I started off saying it's part of my soul, it's true. Because if I lost the connection of the music side and was just going with yes, no, black and white, that's it, I don't think I would be happy. I wouldn't have that part of myself. I would have lost my voice. And I can do anything. I can do anything as long as I have my voice. And I think we all kind of feel that. As long as we are heard, we can express ourselves, then we know who we are. And when we get away from that aspect for whatever reason, whatever life takes us away from it, I think that's when we get more depressed and sad and unsatisfied with what we're doing because we've disconnected our personality from our life. And we should celebrate both. We should celebrate who we are and why we're different and what we do, because that's why we exist.
You have so many great things to say. I just want to say that it's like on the flip side of this, I keep thinking about like the education. You brought that up. It's kind of one thing that I really enjoy about adult education, for example. It's just, the fact that you got to meet people where they are. It's not about, okay, you made a mistake. So what? Let's fix it, together, and it's not, you've described it so well of how you just want to help people, and make them better. And you are doing that through music and through all your jobs. And I went to that, I kind of went to that drum corps side of things because, and I'm interested, I want to shift gears a little bit about what I want to say a little bit about community bands and see what your opinions are. But I always joke, I don't want to say, don't want to say drum corps and band and, get all the, the yelling, screaming. It's not a band, as you know, but I get this idea of where people connect, and they're there for some reason. And one thing I want to pose to you, and it's something that I've noticed mostly in community bands, but that's more my experience, is that if you don't connect with them, I think they don't come back, where they're gone. And it's not like institution where you can give them the F and say, see you tomorrow. We'll work on it because they're gone and that's it. So I'm just interested if you wanted to talk a little bit about that, just because I can see it in your face that you're very welcoming and warming, and yet though I think you challenge so many people, which is amazing.
Oh, I always tell people, especially, I mean, I did the community band for 6 years in Orlando, and there's at least one or two people every year that quit strictly because of me. They didn't like me. They don't like my music choices. They don't like how I run rehearsal, whatever. And those are all valid. I'm not going to take them personally. Now, if I've done something that someone feels like I've wronged them personally, professionally, whatever, I'm going to do my best to make amends to it. But I'm not going to own their reaction to what I do. So if you don't like me, it's okay. You don't have to like me. You have to respect me for the 2 hours I'm on the podium every Thursday night. That was always my thing. We don't have to hang out. We don't have to go to dinner. But some of them I do. Some of them became very, very good friends as long as I had that wall of, okay, when that time comes, I'm in this role,
Right.
but we're on break or whatever else, we're just regular people. So I think sometimes, especially with younger teachers and younger conductors, they have this mentality that everyone has to like them. And we all understand who doesn't want to be liked, right? I think it's a basic human condition, but there's people who are just not going to like you for whatever reason. You just hope that you can create the culture that they feel that they can tell you. You don't take it personally and can still live in the world. This is a great example for that. I got into a situation when I moved to the high school where the band director left in the middle of the summer. They didn't have band camp, so I came in and they were all stressed out. The sophomores obviously were very connected to the past director because they were his high school band director. The juniors and seniors already had 2 years. They're a little more malleable, but they're still just going to kind of ride it out until they graduate. And I had this tuba player who was a great performer, came to my office and said, I just got to tell you, Screen, you are the worst band director I've ever had. I don't understand. And just lit it into me. And I just, okay, I listened to it. And why do you think that? Okay, what makes you feel that way? Great. Okay, I said, see you tomorrow. Okay. Now here's a 15-year-old kid telling me how he knows everything and I know nothing. I said, okay, great. And then we had 12 kids in band. So it was very important for me to hang on to all 12. I didn't, but I was trying to. The next year, we grew it to 45. I said, okay. Gave me a little more credit. By the time he graduated, and he went into music, and he came back and started working with us after his first year. And he finally one day said, can I talk to you again? I'm like, sure, what's up? He says, I was such an ass to you. And basically apologized for what happened. I said, no, you weren't. I said, you were feeling something and you needed to be heard. You were very connected to a last person. You thought that their philosophy of doing things was the way to do things. I was not that, and I was never going to be that. So you had to accept me, and that just took you longer than it took some other people. But by the end, you became one of my strongest leaders. He's still doing amazing things. He finished his master's and just an incredible human being. And we're still friends on Facebook. And I just can't believe you let me talk to you that way. Well, hopefully down the road, you'll be in another situation where you can be humble enough to realize that you are not someone else's cup of tea. They're going to tell you that opinion no matter what, and that it has nothing to do with you, because it doesn't. Even if I don't like the way you conduct, great. Cool, what else? It's not me saying, I'm not saying you're wrong. I am a conductor. I've done this, because we all want to do that, right? People want to start throwing that resume. And this is why I'm good. Oh, cool. Well, I'm confident enough in my skills to know what I was doing. I built the program. It just wasn't the other philosophy. The other philosophy was we're going to be small but mighty. And they were. They had an incredible jazz band where almost all 12 kids were in the jazz band and doubling instruments. That was what that philosophy was. My philosophy was, this is a 100-year-old school. We should have a couple hundred people in band, and they should all be having this great experience. So that meant I took people that were not from middle school band. They became a high school beginner. Great. The next year, just on that same tag, is I wanted to start an indoor drum line because I had all this extra money because the band was so small. I said, hey, we're going to go to a Winter Guard show. Here's the basic concept. Here's a video or two. If you want to sign up for the field trip, it's free. We're going to go to someplace cool for dinner and watch the show. We did. We left, and of course, the kids were like, this is amazing. How can we do it? Well, here's what we have to do to make that happen, blah, blah, blah. okay, so then we're going to do this indoor drum line. And I thought the first year, because I had, 4 drummers,
Hmm.
the first year I have all these beginners coming in. Like, we're just going to do, concert percussion. So we're
Hmm.
standstill division, not concert, standstill.
Hmm.
So we could play. It was like some basic cadence kind of stuff, and like arrangements of Spain, and some cool tunes that allowed them to do a few things.
Hmm.
So the 3 drummers I had that were really great. One's still a professional person now, professional musician, percussion wise. The other 2 were great. One got kicked out of school for doing something he shouldn't do. The other
Hmm.
2 got caught with substances on campus he shouldn't have. So here I have free percussion gone. Now I had 12 people who came in from the beginner class.
Uh-huh.
Like, well, I guess we're not doing indoor percussion. Yes, we are. So who's going to be captain? Hector. What? But Hector just started. Yeah, he was a guitar player, and he came into percussion class. He's great. He's a great leader. He was my drum captain for 3 more years. And I had 2 kids in that ensemble that were sophomore and junior beginners, ended up marching WGI world class drum lines. I'm not a
Hmm.
percussionist. I brought people in to help, but setting that up. So we went and we took second out of 3 and standstill. Oh my God, we beat somebody. And the next year we went and started marching, and then we started beating all these programs that were showing up at a show with a semi truck. We showed
Hmm.
up with 2 pickup trucks and a school bus with percussion taken apart. We're using theater flats, and a floor that had been painted 15 times was heavier than everyone else's. But we made that happen. It
Hmm.
wasn't about the talent. You can't do it. You lost your best percussionist. Well, I'm very sorry that you guys made choices that took you away from the program
Hmm.
for making it happen.
Hmm.
Because I knew, number one, I'd already picked music that was definitely at a level we could perform with second-year players.
Hmm.
And it was layered enough. And I had a few people that came in and helped. Like, hey, you got to make a bass drum line happen. Hey, you got to make sure the technique is correct on these front ensemble. I'm going to make sure ensemble happens, because as a brass player, I know if it lines up or it doesn't. I can talk musical line, but when my percussion people are there, this is
Hmm.
what you guys have to do. And it happened, and year after year, and we started hosting shows and everything else. It was just amazing to go from you can't make it, or that for someone from that same class, you're the worst teacher ever.
Hmm.
But it wasn't about me.
Hmm.
It never was. Even when it was good, it wasn't about me. It just that the philosophy happened, the group bought into it, and together
Hmm.
we made a product. That goes back to one of the first things I said about the ensemble having to trust you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
whether it's you're the band teacher and you're there every day and they kind of have to because you're going to fail them
Hmm.
if they don't, or they've chosen to do it in community band and not everyone's
Hmm.
going to be there with you, you just
Hmm.
pray and hope that those that are there will stick with you for the time you need them to.
Hmm.
And that's okay.
Hmm. Also, like your philosophy of how you just kept moving forward. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, how many times, and I'm sure you share this with everybody, how many times there's always some kind of roadblock, right? You know?
Always. If you teach in a school, you're very good at roadblocks and
Yep.
plans B to double Z. It's
Uh-huh.
just it's the nature of it. And community band, really honest, is the same way.
Hmm.
Hey, we're going to say after have a clarinet sectional, and then 2 clarinets show at rehearsal. And it's the
Yep.
2 clarinets that can play the entire
Yep.
concert without any problem. Like, what should we do? Well, we're not going to reschedule again next week because that's when the saxophones have to meet.
Yep.
You're going to do the best you can and just hope, hey, this is what I'm doing to make it work.
Yep.
If they trust you, they're more than likely going to go with whatever you say. They may buck. I'm not going to do that. Great. Well, let's set up a culture where you can give me feedback, but maybe not in the middle of rehearsal when I'm standing up
Right.
and for everybody going to be embarrassed.
Right.
You
Right.
know, because unfortunately, I've seen people go through that,
Yep.
especially in community bands. There's some people that just they have a mouth and they think I'm going to say what I want to say.
Yep.
But I was always able to make my ensembles like we can say those things, but let's keep it respectful
Yep.
in that
Yep.
room.
Yep.
You want to pull me aside and rip me a new one, go ahead.
Right.
I'll be there for it, but just realize if you rip me a new one, I can rip you a new one too.
I know. And well, there's just like you said, there's always a million philosophies going around all the time and how it was. And, one thing, that, I will share with you of what research. I know I'm coming off as like an academic, but I really am not. It's this side of people's previous experiences buying into this from the military, from the schools prior, those kind of things. And
Forever.
it's like they want to relive those experiences again, and I feel like that's why they end up in the community band or a drum corps or continuing after. And it's just how we, and you're saying a lot of great things of how we keep that train moving forward, because I think that's a big deal today, because unfortunately, it can backfire, but or you run into issues, right away when you said, about how, you ran into issues. This was just a community band. I'll just share this. I remember probably one of the worst concerts I was ever in was I was conducting, hitting a bass drum in the back because I only had one percussionist, and I'm a euphonium player, and I was playing the trumpet parts on euphonium because all my trumpet players and a bunch of people went to a show and they didn't tell me till the last moment. So we had a performance. So we kept
Oh
going.
no.
You know, you did what you have to do to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That reminds
but
me of, we had just hired an associate conductor
uh-huh.
who took over for me now, which is wonderful.
Hmm.
Incredible hands. And I learned so much from him. He came in, he had a doctorate in music.
Hmm.
I have a music composition degree.
Hmm.
I didn't have an education degree. I got alternatively certified. So he
Hmm.
came in, we had to make sure this balance. And first thing I told him, said, number one, I want you to know that I'm not intimidated by you at all. I'm excited to learn with you. And he had the same kind of mentality. It wasn't hey, you've got all this extra schooling
Yep.
that I have.
Hmm.
It wasn't. It's like, you're going to have this experience. I'm going to have this experience, and together. And it was a wonderful situation. Well, the concert that we had hired him on, and he came in to, he was just watching. We were going to introduce him at the concert.
Hmm.
We're playing this Olympic medley that had gone well for weeks. For some reason, the lighting was really bad in the first song, and people couldn't see, and we fell
Hmm.
apart at a concert. And I went, measure 72, 1, 2, ready, and we finished the piece out. I was so embarrassed. It was one of the worst concerts I've ever conducted because
Hmm.
it took so long to recover from that mentally.
Yep. Hmm.
Here we are. We just hired this person. He's a doctorate in music. He's not going to sign the contract. he's not going to come do this. We have scared him off. And instead, he's like, those things happen. You did the best you can, and you move on.
Hmm.
And we grow and we learn from that. What we learned that when we have somebody new in the booth, that we're going to
Hmm.
run those tech rehearsals twice as long and not let someone play with the
Yep.
lights to the concert.
Hmm.
And that members, hey, guess what? If you can't see your music and he's getting ready to conduct, you need to tell him, because we didn't have our stand lights. I mean, there's all these things that could have prevented that from happening.
Yep.
But you know what? It happened. It
Hmm.
sucked. It's horrible to be on stage when those things happen.
Yep.
But
It
sometimes it
happens.
happens.
Yep. Sometimes it happens.
Sometimes
At
you got
least
to
you
be
recovered
player
from it,
playing, right? You got to be that player playing the euphonium parts and hitting the bass drum and conducting, and
Yeah.
keep all the plates spinning.
Yep, that's right. You had to keep it going. And it stunk because, I remember it was an outdoor, like, I was actually doing a cakewalk. I don't know if you ever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of more low key, but it's still, I had all this stuff planned, which all went out the windows, And so it's the way it goes. You just keep moving forward, right?
because it's not about you, right? You did all this
That's right.
preparation.
Yep.
Not here. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, we're not going to just pack up and go home. So let's do it. Make it happen.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you, kind of going a little farther in what you do as far as whether or not you want to share your day job or anything like that. But I'm just interested in the community side, and your community side is what I'm talking about, and that kind of connection with music. Because I feel like a lot of people talk today where, oh, I don't go into music because, well, you're not going to make money doing it. Or that's one. Or the second thing is it's such a time commitment, and, I have to make money elsewhere, that kind of thing. And I'm just interested because I see it's very well woven into your fabric, and still is. And
Always has been, always will be.
and
I used to say that the juggle is real. It's the name of my first book. So if someone else steals it out here, I'm going to sue. But not the struggle, but the juggle, because it is. I've always had the philosophy that you have enough time for everything you want if you really want it, because you're going to prioritize. I mean, yeah, you can always be a smart butt and say, do all those other. This is what I want to do, and why.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. I'm a sales guy. I don't do sales speak, and I don't like that. But I always say, we have to find the pain point. The pain point is usually not what is being said. If someone says, well, I need to have this now, why? Is it because you have an event coming up to need it for? You're getting pressure from somebody. Your money's going to run out.
Mm-hmm.
What is the situation? Why are you where you are? And you get to that core of it. Number one, the person is truly being heard because you're going true interest into it, and then you're able to solve the problem. But it comes down to I don't have the money to do music. Great. So the way I would explain to my students, what's your goal in life? Well, I want to play music. Great. What kind of lifestyle do you want? Well, what do you mean? Is a house important? Is a location, family, travel? I mean, let's look at all those things. What do you see your life like? Mm-hmm. And then backtrack from there. What's going to get you there? We always say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and all the self-help stuff you go out there. Great. To me, it just comes down to what you want your life to look like. Mm-hmm. Could I get a job somewhere that's going to pay me more money than I'm making? Probably. Would I enjoy it? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of jobs to know that, hey, if I need to get up and drive a forklift as a warehouse manager, I'm going to do that because I got to play with some incredible ensembles at night. And I got to travel and do those things on weekends and play gigs and do it. But it was exhausting. Mm-hmm. But at that point in my life, that's what I wanted, because I wanted to make enough money to do these things for my lifestyle, but I also wanted to be able to do these things. So I had to practice enough for both of those to exist. Mm-hmm. Here's my work life. Here's my personal music life. Mm-hmm. And as I developed, I just kept myself open to new experiences, because half the time it falls in your lap. Mm-hmm. It's you meet the right person in the right place at the right time. Not all of it is just because you worked really hard and went up the ladder. Sometimes it's just sheer luck. Mm-hmm. So if you keep yourself in situations that allow you to interact with people that will open doors and opportunities for you, then great. Mm-hmm. The number of people that go into music, it's very, very minimal. But it's the same thing for everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can be the star football player and you have no hope at the NFL. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy football. You can enjoy football until your body tells you no. And then you can just become a fan and cheer on football, whatever you want that to be. Mm-hmm. There are some limitations on skill level, but doesn't mean there's not an opportunity. It just means that maybe NFL isn't it, but mm-hmm. maybe you could be the star player in the community football league and have a blast and mm-hmm. work your day job is whatever and still make it work. Mm-hmm. So, with me and my day job now, I mean, it is in the performing arts. I mean, my day job is, it's twofold. It's the company that I run and then sales manager for Fruhoff. And I'm mm-hmm. spending all day talking to band directors and the reps and going to mm-hmm. conventions. I'm in Michigan this weekend, California next weekend, then Texas right after it. We've got reps all over the place, doing their own kind of thing. So I love that. It keeps me connected to it. Mm-hmm. And now I've rambled enough. I forgot the original question.
Just thinking how music kind of weaves into there, and you were getting to it. How that connection of it, and you explained it a little bit, but I don't know if there was more you wanted to say.
Well, we'll say this is the honesty. When I took this job and started doing the dual residence, because I have a house in Florida and the apartment here, mm-hmm. and I told the Fruhoffs, I said, "Listen, I'm going to take the job, and I need 3 months to get rid of some commitments." So I ended my contract with the band so that they can move on, because I couldn't fly to Florida every week anymore, right. And I did that for 3 months. Okay. And I missed 2 or 3 rehearsals, but the rest of the time I'm flying to Orlando to conduct, go to St. Pete, fly back to Wichita. So I had to end that contract. So I left them on a good note. We're ready to move on. I was president of Theater Tampa Bay, which is the professional theater companies of the Tampa Bay area. Mm-hmm. We do all kinds of awards and clinics and workshops and joint auditions and things. I knew that I couldn't continue doing that and the other boards I was on. So I waited till, hey, it's time for re-election. I'm leaving this. But I did tell the Fruhoffs, I said, I'm going to have a creative outlet. I don't know what that's going to be yet. I said, well, there's a lot of stuff here. Like, I don't know. Will I start writing music again? Maybe. Arranging? I don't know. What am I going to do? Because right now my creative outlet is I adjudicate marching bands and stuff in the fall. Mm-hmm. doing some clinician work. Right now, I'm comfortable with that because it's a new position for me from regional to national. It's probably going to take me a year to kind of get in the groove of, how's this going to be my balance between the two places and making sure I'm successful at the things I want to do. But then what am I going to do next? What door do I need to walk through to make sure my life still operates the way I need it to operate? It goes back to that personality thing.
Yep.
If I'm doing nothing but office work all day, I'm going to lose this other side. So there's a balance in there. Right now, I'm in a big transition period where I'm okay. But once we hit September, October, Bantober, excuse me, get through Bantober and into November, and that December is always busy for musicians. So about this time next year, 2025, I better have something else lined up, whether it's a community band, a conducting thing, maybe I get my master's. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I do know in the back of my head that there's a time clock of something else is going to happen. What's it going to be? I'm open to ideas. Maybe it's more in theater again. I've balanced them back and forth between those things. Maybe it's simply me just being a patron. Maybe I'll just make sure I go to New York and see the latest Broadway show, and make sure I go see friends and their performances, and maybe I'll chaperone a trip to Ireland with a band so I can go see my international friends and the music side. I don't know. What is it going to be? We'll see. But I always make sure that in the back of my mind, I realize that there's a core part of me that I need to fulfill. And regardless of what the day job is, there has to be that. And I do like that there's definitely several people in the Fruhoff family that work in the office that perform music. We have our comptroller is a bass guitarist for a band that plays around town. One of our CSRs sings professionally. She had a gig this past weekend, and I love hearing, she's humming in the background like, okay, what song are you working on? What are you singing? Right now, I'm loving that because I'm loving what everyone else is doing, and I'm excited. Oh, I hope I'm in town for your next gig so I can go see you perform. Or, after the gig, I couldn't be there, but, tell me about it. How did it go? I genuinely want to hear. And right now, that's where I'm getting my feeding from.
Right. That's awesome.
So we'll see.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I was just interested, just because it's definitely, I'm finding that more and more, in the music world, of talking. And again, I'm this one guy doing this little podcast, as I call it, and I've been hearing it come up. So I just thought I'd ask you, just because, your day job isn't, it is in the performing arts, but it's more, the creative side. That's what I was kind of interested. So I do have one final question that I wanted to ask you. This was just something, something to think about. As we're kind of closing this and, hearing, and I really have to do, making sure your voice is heard, and especially with you, talking how you help other people get their voice or help them get their music voice, or even in your job, I feel, you're helping people be who they are. And helping people, and especially in the music world of what I'm looking at, continue making music. And I was just wondering if you had any words of wisdom or anything to say in regards of folks, and I'm going to just pose this question as this way, just because some of the experiences that I've seen where, the all-state band member who was doing so great in high school and then who does not play anymore, or the community band, or the college student who had a tuba who was playing in the pep band or the marching band and doesn't do it anymore. Life happens. Or, we even have those community members, as you say, leave. And I was just wondering if you had any words of wisdom as far as, how you are connected in the fabric of music making and what others could follow.
Say the community band is such a great avenue, and the alumni groups and things, the drum corps. There's always something out there that is available. I mean, if you're in an area that you're lucky enough to have a choice of community bands and you can go check things out and see, maybe there's one that you walk into and you feel like this feels comfortable. I feel safe here. And I can't tell you the number of people that walked in a community band. I can't play anywhere. I haven't played in 20 years. It's like riding a bicycle, all those turns and things we say, and it comes back. But the other side is, maybe you live in an area that there aren't those opportunities, or you're not aware of them. But I can't tell you the number of people that I hook up with in Indy, for example, every year DCI finals, like, my spouse is into music, or, the wife doesn't like the drum corps stuff and lets me go and do this pilgrimage. But they go to a place where they can have those connections. So even if they can't perform, maybe then go back to an alumni situation. Maybe there's something with their high school they're with, or the college, or the drum corps. Go back, and even if you can't relive those experiences or develop new experiences based on those same organizations and ideas, those people are still going to help you connect back to those things. I mean, nostalgia is very powerful, but if you can go talk to somebody that you haven't talked to in, say, 10 years and have a conversation as if you saw them last week, and you've developed a much deeper connection with them than you ever thought you had. And a lot of times the music and performing arts does that for us, because there is this team building, really all working together. I mean, sports have it too. Certain club, there's a lot of things that have it. I don't think it's unique to performing arts, but I definitely think it's a cornerstone of why the performing arts work the way they work. So finding something. I mean, there's endless alumni groups of things on Facebook, and fan pages, and social groups and meetups. And so even if you're in the ruralist of the rural area and there's no one around for miles you can play an instrument with, there's got to be something you can go to, whether it's as a patron, as an alumni group, or something. But I say keep connected. Even, I'll make this one last reference over to it. I keep reading about dementia patients and how they get to the point that they don't recognize people, but sometimes there's a song that'll give them a glimpse of who they were, and then you see more of them than you've seen with other people. So music and the performing arts operate on a different plane. I don't think we completely understand that at the full level yet, but there's something to be said there. So if someone is not completely here anymore mentally, but that one aspect can give them so much life, then while we still have the ability to remember and to experience, take advantage of that. I had a really powerful conversation with one of my mentors about this time last year, who was in the process of dying, and he unfortunately did pass away. But he called me, and I hadn't talked to him in months. I mean, I think it had been 3 or 4 months on a messenger. And then I knew in that conversation it was it. And I asked if we could bring somebody else into the call, and people who were able to speak with him, because his idea was to speak and just say thank you for whatever. But that's going to stick with me forever. And the number of people that one person touched it's incredible. And we all have that ability. We just don't always see it. So do the things, don't waste time, take advantage of all opportunities that you have. And if you don't have a supportive family or spouse, or whatever your situation is, then find a sliver. Even if it's just watching a YouTube video of something you used to do, or a group you performed with, or heck, they may just be writing a check to somebody like, hey, I can't go see you, but I know you need money, so keep doing what you're doing because you made an impact on my life.
Well, thank you, Chris. I mean, very well said. I mean, I really appreciate, your words of wisdom, and I will say that. I mean, definitely, I really feel that is important. I mean, I really feel that we really need to, embrace what's out there. And I thank you for sharing that, in many different experiences. And I also want to, of course, thank you for being a part of this podcast. And also, I will say this in one last comment, that I just want to thank you for giving so many voice to people. And I don't want to sound cliche, but I've been thinking about this the whole entire time you've been talking. And, it's kind of funny. You watch the movie Mr. Holland's Opus, and I feel you've become that, and I'm not making fun,
No,
at all.
I hated it for a time. Then I embraced it, not because I feel like I'm the same person, but just
No.
I could relate to that. And
Yeah, you can relate to it.
You never know. And the same thing.
Yep.
I'll reach into people. I know we're saying our goodbyes, but
Yeah.
I'll run into people that I haven't seen in forever, and they'll share stories with me I don't remember. I'm like, that situation made a big impact on their life and stuck with it. And I don't even remember that situation. But then I have something the same kind of thing of, you did this and just it changed my life. And I go, oh, I can remember that. So you never know what impact is you're making. So just lead every day with make as much impact as you can. Live your life. You only have
Mhm.
one of
That's
them.
right. Very well said. Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you
you very
so much.
much. I appreciate being on
Yeah.
this podcast and give me a chance to kind of ramble on about things. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it.